Hey y'all, so I'm back with another video, and today's video is my very first story time. So today's story time is going to be about whether or not you're too loyal to your job. So I started working at a Fortune 500 company right out of college, and I was there for 4 years. Around year 3, I started to feel like, should I leave? Should I stay? Should I go? I don't know. So I started to consult people like my mom, who had been at her job for like 20 plus years, and my boyfriend, different people who have been in the business field. Now, I know that people who are in like my mom's age group, they're known to be at jobs for like 15 plus years, get pensions and 401ks and all these retirement plans and things of that nature. And the longer that you stay at a job, it's like, oh, the greater the benefits. But I feel like for millennials, that's not always the case. And I had actually recently read an article that said that you are more likely to be an asset to a company and get paid more if you move around every 3 years. Now, I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying somebody put that out there. So my personal story is, though, while at this Fortune 500 company, I loved working there. I wouldn't take that away from it. I met really great people. But I will say that around year 3, I started to feel like maybe it was time to make that jump. But I didn't want to leave them right in the middle of being busy. I was so focused on like my role at the company and with my team. And when I think of the priority that came when I thought about leaving, it was my company, then me. My mom always kept saying, like, stop being so loyal, because if they want to and they need to make budget cuts, or if they needed, some fresh talent, like, they could get rid of you and they won't really think twice. And for me, I'm like, nah, I just don't believe that. So, while at my company, I had been working on the same team the whole time I had been there, with having a few different assignments elsewhere. So at this particular time in year 4, I had experienced being lent out to another team. So what that means is I was experiencing some downtime where I didn't have much work on my permanent team. So they lent me to be a resource to someone else's team who, one, wasn't in my sector, meaning my industry, and I wasn't familiar with the people. But that's okay. I'm one of those people that I'll assimilate, I'll learn what it is that you want me to do, and I'll do it to the best of my ability. Immediately when I got there, the atmosphere was a bit different. And I can say my time at this particular company was made great by the people that I worked with. It was my team that made me want to stay. So now that I'm working with a new team, I'm kind of like, I don't know. But you make the best of it, because I was only supposed to be working on this tentative temporary team for a short amount of time. So immediately I didn't click with the manager. He was a guy, and he was of a different ethnicity, and not the one you probably thinking. But I could tell that there was just a lot of hostility and different management styles, I'll say. Now, I'm one to know that when you're working in corporate America, you will come across a different management styles. And what I've always tried to do was assimilate to who I'm working with at the time, find out what it is that they like, what it is that they need from me, and do it their way. Like, you got that. You're the manager. I'm here to work. Let's work. So one thing my mom always told me was cover your bum, right? So I'm one to save emails. I'm one to save my work. Like, I know what's going on. And even if you ever had to say that you didn't like me, you could never really talk about my work ethic or the quality of my work. And that was one thing I always wanted to have going well for me, was my work ethic and the quality of my work. So you could always be like, I don't care for Jameen, but she does work well. You know what I mean? Now, not to say you want to go in somewhere and just giving people the wrong shoulder, because I want to get along with the people that I work with, but at this particular team, it just really wasn't working. I'm really not sure why. I can't even really pinpoint why. But long story short, once I left the team and went back to my main team, there was little buzz from this particular manager that I had worked with, that he pretty much didn't like the way that I performed while working with his team. Now, mind you, I had been with the company for 4 years, and I had never received a review below meets expectations. If anything, I had always got either meets or exceeds. So for me personally, that's on my record. Like, I care. So when it was floating around that he was going to give me this tentative review of didn't meet expectations, and my immediate reaction was, I'm not signing that. Point blank, I don't agree with it. I'm not signing it. So, you are at this job, you are assigned people managers, and the people managers are supposed to be people that advocate for you. But I learned very quickly that it's all a front, to be honest. Like really didn't feel like this person did any advocating for me. And so, you know, that ultimately determined how I would deal with the company moving forward. So once we got to review time and it came time for me to sign off on this review, I'm not signing off. So of course that means it get pushed up high level. I'm having meetings and conference calls with different people as to why. Now, everything that he listed in the review as to why he was giving me this low rating or his support, I could refute with IMs, with emails, and with actual work documents. So being the organizer that I am, I print all those things out. I staple them for this, you know, this meeting with my people manager and with his people manager, blah, blah, blah. Get to the meeting. They have no interest in the support that I brought to the meeting. They just wanted me to, they just wanted to convince me to sign the document. It was like, oh, it's not that serious. It's just you acknowledging, you know, the review. You know, they try to make it sweet, but for me, it's like me signing it is saying that I agree, and I just really don't agree. So at this point, I'm getting angry because I'm like, I've devoted 4 years to this company. I've traveled for you guys. I've gone on jobs that I didn't really care for you guys. And, you know, I've given my time. At this job, I'm working 65 plus hours, coming in on time still the next day after I'm leaving midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, like working like crazy. And you guys have the audacity to ask me to sign something I don't agree with, and that's something that I actually can prove was false. Like, where they do that at? Like, they do that. Where they do that at? Where they do that? Hey, where they do that at? It didn't make no sense. So, you know, at this point now I'm like, oh, so this is what mama meant when she said you can't be loyal to the job, because guess what? They ain't loyal to you. So the moral of the story is eventually I determined that I was ready to go. And not so much because, oh, I had met somebody who I didn't get along with, but I just didn't like the way that the company handled me. And after that, I just had a really bad taste in my mouth. So besides the fact that I was already considering leaving, then this incident came up. For me, it was a confirmation that my time here was up. But unfortunately, I did leave some really great people. I love the people that I work with. So I felt sad leaving, but I felt like my time was up. So, you know, I challenge you guys, like, when you're ready to move on or you're thinking about moving on, you should really determine what your motive is and what it is that you really want out of the company that you're either leaving or the company that you're considering working for. Because sometimes, you know, your time is up, or sometimes you might be jumping ship a little too early. For me, I think it was the perfect time. I had gotten my time in there. I had climbed up the ranks a little bit, and I learned a lot. And at that point, I just started to feel stifled and like I wasn't growing. And then, you know, at that point, once that whole riffraff happened, I knew that it was time for me maybe to check the deuces. So I challenge you not to so much be so loyal to the company, but first be loyal to you. What is it that you need? What is it that the company doing for you? Because remember, they hired you, so clearly it was something that you brought to the table that they needed. You know, you want to be an asset, not a liability. And at that point, I felt more of a liability than an asset, because I felt like they were so willingly able to throw me under the bus, so to speak. And so at that point, I washed my hands. So pretty much, you know, that's my story time. That's my own personal experience. And I'm not pushing my thoughts or my views on you, but I will challenge you to think about what it is that you're looking for, what it is that you want out of a company when you're determining whether you want to stay or leave. And it's a relationship. So the same way they're getting something out of you, which is your time, your work ethic, your, you know, whatever it is that you bring to the table, you should also be receiving something as well. You know, growth, development. You should be being groomed. You know what I mean? And if you're not receiving that anymore, then you might need to reevaluate your situation there. So that's it for my story time. Bye.